Hey, boys and girls, weather report for July 29th, 2021. Did I hear myself, or what was that?
Oh, I said hey back, which is my usual. Usually I have to like force myself not to say hey when you say hey. Today I forgot.
Yeah, when I'm trying to get the date out, it's probably, you guys got to force yourself.
Yeah. Maybe it's my frontal lobe or something is going bad.
I know it's difficult. So not much happened yesterday. I guess Standing for Truth is continuing to pump out more garbage. Something interesting happened. He said that he refuted the whole endogenous retrovirus thing in his book, Why Human Evolution is False. So the first, I picked
is what?
Yeah, right. So I picked up the quote unquote book and went to the index, and oh, wait a minute, there's no index.
What?
Yeah, there's no index in this goddamn book, and this book is just so bad. Who wrote this? Yeah, Standing for Truth.
It was it was bad enough for Erica to do, like, I think she's on her 8th or 9th, or I can't remember how many installments of her Library of Errors just on that book she's been doing.
How could she stand to go through this book? So I was trying to find the part where he did endogenous retroviruses, and it's kind of all over the place. And it's just, oh my God, it's just so bad. It's so bad.
Let me guess, all the references were from creationist websites.
Oh no, he's got pictures of papers, but they're pictures. And let's see if he's. Yeah, they're pictures of papers. So even if you get the PDF version, you can't link on anything, and you can't copy anything.
That's a no-no.
Yeah, no. Well, okay, in the back, he does have resources. Yeah, he did. Okay, in this book, because I bitched so much about his last book, he actually put links. Let's see, we got Answers to Genesis. We got one NCBI. We got Logo Research Mass. What? I don't know what that is. Geneticentropy.org. Answers in Genesis. Oh, yeah, he's got a few references. Oh, not very many. Unfortunately. No, it's 3 pages for his whole book, but he does have a lot of pictures of papers, pictures of titles of papers, which is kind of his MO for debate.
You're trying to review human evolution and you only got a dozen references?
Wow. Yep, that's about it, and most of them are pretty poorly linked.
Speaking of which, did you ever find out if you have a copy of that Processes in Human Evolution that Erica talked about the other day? Do you have a copy, or?
I do have a copy.
Cool. All right, I was just curious.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, yep.
Hey, Scott.
I was going to check some. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Scott, I got a random challenge for you.
The challenge is to shut the hell up.
No.
Okay.
No. So you're the hyena guy, but I challenge you one weather report. You're gonna have to be the platypus guy.
I can do that.
Okay. Can you fulfill that challenge honestly?
At some point in the future, I will become the platypus guy.
All right. That's all I ask. All right. Continue speak.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Easy request to fulfill.
Cool.
Oh, let's see. So, what do we got here? Flies on the wall. Oh, no, I said a smoky thing. Brainbug identified my bug for me. but we'll have a picture of it. Scuderia. It is a katydid, I guess. Katydid. Katie did it. Why did Katie do it?
If I'm not mistaken, aren't praying mantises highly modified katydid relatives or something?
I don't know. I don't know that.
We need you, brain bug.
That'd
We
be a
need
bug
a
question.
brain bug. We definitely do need a brain bug.
We need a brain bug. Okay, we got high chat replay. Oh, let me go. Let me do this. Maybe. Oh, what's happening? Okay. Production values are us. Share screen. I just wanted to. Now, Sol Cordova runs a family-friendly show.
Okay.
And, of course, we know that this is a kid-friendly show, too. And so I'm always checking out what Sal does so that I could figure out what not to do. And so I watch him very carefully. And I caught this a little bit last night. So he's showing McLean Bible College, and he's showing the pastor. And he has a point. I can't remember what the point is, but there's a point. But let's see what the point is. We'll try to figure out the point as we go along.
Even,
but listen.
Okay, so let's see.
Audio working?
Oh my goodness, look who's there.
Yes, audio's working.
Right there on the linking from the SBC website. That's the same guy who said we are not a member of the Southern Baptist Convention. This reminds me of when Bill Clinton said, okay, I'm going to change the words a little bit, trying to be family friendly. He said, I was not affiliated with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I was not affiliated with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. He said, listen carefully. I was not affiliated with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. You know what I'm talking about. The famous
No, I don't know.
scandal.
No, I don't know.
Infamous scandal of Bill Clinton.
He was affiliated?
Well, the DNA evidence was in, and he did have
affiliation?
An affiliation with Miss Lewinsky, so to speak. And he said, well, that wasn't really an affiliation, but I don't know how to put this. It's like, okay, so they're exchanging goods and services, so to speak, and it's like, well, he defined that as not.
Okay. So I mean, all of that to get around using the word sex. Now, how many times do you hear the word sex? Does a child hear the word sex a day, do you think? On listen to TV. I don't know. I'm just do you think you have to go that far to be a kid-friendly show? To not use
No, I don't think so.
Anyway, but I don't think having affiliations with a woman is there's anything wrong with that. But anyway, because this is a kid-friendly show, for any children listening out there right now, for all you little boys, do not have affiliations with those girls. I just think that
those affiliations.
I just think there's something wrong with people that are so freaked out by the whole idea of sex that they can't even say the word. I mean,
Speed.
What?
The brain bug is here.
Oh, the brain bug.
Brain bug.
Oh my god.
Brain bug.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
We need you to pop in. Can you pop in, brain bug?
Yeah.
Oh, let me send brain bug an invite. I'll send him an invite.
If not possible, then possible, some other possibility, some other possible time.
PR. Oh God, will you please send me an email on my regular account, brain bug? Because son of a bitch, I could never find him. Okay, Otangelo. Okay, there he is. Hang on a second. I'm working on this.
Do we have more Angelo stuff?
Oh no, God forbid. I will play that song over and over again just to get out of having another encounter with Otangelo. Oh, come on. What? Why on earth does Gmail make it so hard to get somebody's actual address. They're so good at giving you the name, that they hide the address. You have to click around. I sent you a link
they are kind of a pain.
Because I got something right here for, let's see, what are we? Scuderia 2. So the bug from yesterday is a Scuderia, and I have a video. I put on my higher magnification lens, which is really difficult because you end up, things come out of focus real easily. So you can only look at things on a certain depth. And so it becomes a little bit difficult. But I just wanted to play this. This is the higher magnification of the Scuderia, or the katydid. And I wish you could speed these up a little bit, but you can't because it takes a long time to focus in on things. And of course, there's no fast forward or anything, but that is, I don't know what power that is. We're probably looking at about 70 or something like that right now. And I was showing, that little shoulder, he's got like armor on his shoulders, that little shoulder thing I'm picking up on. Now we're looking at the leaf in depth. But behind that armor, there's this big hollow chamber. And I think a lot of bugs have that. Oh, Brian's at work.
So
anyway,
what question did you have for him? The name of it?
I just want him to stop in and talk about this thing. Okay, now you see the antennas a little bit. If I could stop on that. So I've got the antenna in focus. You can see a little stub, but it gets wilder and wilder. Okay, there's his mouth and mouth parts. Oh, strange mouth parts. So we're zooming in on the mouth parts now. And
while we're watching it, can I ask Brain Bug my question?
Yeah.
So Brain Bug, am I phylogenetically correct that praying mantises are closely related to katydids, or are kind of a subset of that group? Can you let me know in the chat, please? Thank you. Anyway, continue.
Okay. Well, this is just kind of something you just have to watch. So I'm gonna try to focus in on his eye a little bit. Let's see. Okay, now I'm going. Okay, there's his mouth parts. Now that's probably around over 100, something like that in 3D, and it's very difficult. And the camera is not as good as the actual microscope. So the microscope itself, you can see almost in 3D. So it's a little depressing when you film it. Okay, now I'm going back to some wing stuff. Yeah, let's see, what do we got here? Okay, there's his legs, where the legs attached. There's some really intricate, cool parts here. And so you just have to keep focusing and looking at different layers, because it is so highly magnified right now. And I think I go for the wings. The wings are incredible. The veins and everything. They're pretty cool. And then now I'm going up to max, which is really difficult to catch things, but that's about 180.
Hey, Amy.
Yeah. Anyway, so and then okay. Before I do this, I want all children watching to quit watching now, because I got to show the part of the bug. I don't know how to say this. The part of the bug that's not the belly button of the bug, but a little bit behind the belly button of the bug. The other part of the bug that's not the head, and it's not the belly button, and it's not the arms and the legs or the feet, but that other part that's left over. And I don't know exactly how to say this for children, but so now we're going to look at. Okay, hopefully all the kids are gone now. We're looking at a bug's ass.
Know about the poopy place?
Oh, the bug's ass, yeah. So this is a bug's ass. I think all the children are gone. Okay, look at those. Okay, those little hooks back there. You see those two little hooks? That has something to do with mating. Now we're zooming in on the bug's ass, and we're going to try to focus. But
I wonder if anybody's getting sick to their stomach because of all the motion.
Yeah, there's a lot of motion. You have to pause this thing if you want to look at anything, but it's kind of hard to see the parts of the of the bugs. How should I say it? Oh, I can say it now because the kids are gone, right? Okay, now that's really high magnification, those little hooks. So there's two little hooks, and then there's another hook that sticks out of the end of it. And I tried to get some of that. So
Okay,
that's
thanks,
them.
Brain Bug.
Okay, so right above you see where it kind of heads out. That is a very long hook that comes out, but you can't see it because of the oh, and that's the end of it. So we saw it yesterday on the other video, but that was a pretty good picture of the end of the hook. Let me see if I got it again. That's
HB.
pretty cool. But
Does Amy Newman have a link by any chance?
I could work that out.
Yeah, I'd like to have a conversation with you if you don't mind, Amy, because you're fun to talk to.
Anyway, nobody cares about my bug's ass, but I do, and
You've got a beautiful bug's ass.
I have a pretty bug's ass.
It's very
damn.
clean.
Now here's another one whose website I can never find for some reason,
You mean email address?
or email address. Yeah,
Brainbug says the little hooks are called Circi or Circe.
Circe. Okay, cool.
And he also said that mantises are actually more related to, or in the group of cockroaches and termites, which I didn't actually know. So thanks, Brainbug.
Oh,
Thanks, Brainbug.
come on, give it to me. Let's see. Okay, got it. Is that thing still playing, or did I stop it?
It doesn't
I think
look
it
like
stopped.
it's playing. Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped it. Yeah, okay, there's different pictures of the bottom of the bug, and I was really fascinated with those things. Okay, now you can see the kind of there's two little hooks there too, and they have a lot of little hairs on them. But anyway, I know you guys don't care about my bugs. Nobody cares
We do
about
care
bugs.
about your bugs. We just
I
don't
don't
know
think-
what they are.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is if you stick it in clay, you could start to take the bug apart. And that is definitely not for kids or most adults. So anyway, yep. So there you have it, bug's ass. And let's see, what else? So my sister found a ladybug larva and sent a picture, and that was pretty cool. She has apparently a whole bunch of them on her lawn table, and she was concerned about them. But they're, I didn't know that they had a larval stage, to tell you the truth, because I don't know enough about bugs. That's why we need Brian to come in here.
We have an eyewitness news report.
We did see that, Spooky.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah.
Me neither.
I'm gonna have to. Is it yesterday?
Somebody emailed it to
Was it
me, I think.
yesterday? Do we have a timestamp or anything, Spooky, or anybody? So I don't have to necessarily watch the whole thing. Okay, no, it probably took a long time, so I'll probably be able to find it.
Yeah, you probably. I could link it. I've got it here somewhere in my history. I did look at a little bit of it, but it was just Otangelo.
Remember, there's only one thing Otangelo won't believe, and that's evolution. He'll believe in the Shroud of Turin, Noah. I wonder if he believes in Bigfoot.
Well, I know he doesn't believe in Big Bang, right?
Oh, nope, doesn't believe in Big Bang.
Yeah.
And just for all you little cool kids out there, we mean the actual Big Bang, not the ridiculous TV show.
Right, yeah.
Or that movie that John Belushi was in,
The
The
what?
Big Bang.
Oh, he
Movie
was in
that John Belushi was in.
I
The
have no
plot of
idea.
the plot of the movie was basically The Big Bang.
Wait, what?
It's
You're confusing me, Speed.
pretty deep. There's another usage of the word bang.
Oh, gotcha.
That okay.
Yeah.
Sal doesn't know about that.
Yeah. You wouldn't know about that, AJ? Or Andrew wouldn't know about that. Andrew wouldn't know
No,
about that.
I said Sal doesn't know about that.
Oh no, he didn't know about the big bang, the other usage. Yeah, because he uses the word he uses the word bang all the time. And kids are gonna hear that. And what are they gonna think?
I'm using the proper terminology. Would you prefer me to call it the everywhere stretch?
I like to call it the big expansion myself, because that makes a little more sense.
Or the
Hey, well,
great
that can be
expansion.
misinterpreted too.
The big expansion.
Yeah.
Well, it expanded kind of fast. Okay. We're
Okay,
starting
enough of
way
that.
back. Huh?
I said enough of that.
Enough of that. Okay. So here we are. So, Andrew, so eukaryotic cells, about 2 billion years ago, with a big question mark on that. And I think, I don't know. Let's see, where did multicellular life? We went over a little bit of this yesterday.
It's a question mark, I'm pretty sure, because we can date the transition using molecular evidence, but we don't have a very good fossil record.
Yeah.
So I think it has something to do with that.
Yeah, and it's, the transition itself probably happened over 100 million years.
Yeah.
Because I think there was a large population of things like that were all, basically candidates, and then one population slowly banged its way out of there. Banged. I said bang.
Well, there are algae today that have gone from single to multi-celled in the lab over like the course of 90 days. And the reason that they got multicellular is they had a predator there, and when they became multicellular, they became too big for the predator to eat. So that might be one reason that multicellular life evolved, was as a defense mechanism.
Yeah, but we were talking about eukaryotes, which came before that. So there was a long period where we had single-celled eukaryotes, or I don't know how long, because I think multicellularity happened fairly quickly. I don't know. But they're claiming that it happened like 900 million years ago. I don't know. Eukaryotes, okay, 1.5 billion with a question mark. They divide into three groups: plants, fungi, and animals, into separate lineages. And then, of course, so that happened around 1.5 billion years ago. I don't know. But, there's a lot of question marks here. And the first multicellular life around 900 million years ago. How or why this happens?
I believe when life started on the Earth for the first like 4 billion years or so, I could be wrong, or like first billion years, it was nothing but bacteria for a long time.
Yeah, prokaryotes.
Single cell.
Yeah, the step with multicellular life is that a lot of the prokaryotes have many of the proteins that are necessary for sticking together, that sort of thing, and for intercellular signaling, which is what's required for first of all, you have a colony, which is just the same cells stuck together, and then along the line you start to have differentiation in that colony. And that happened in that laboratory experiment, didn't it, AJ?
Yeah.
I think they had a little bit of differentiation.
The difference between a colony and a multicellular organism, like the algae became, is in a colony, all of the cells are the same, but in a multicellular organism, you have different cells that have different functions, and those cells can break off from the host and start their own, they can continue to live. In a colony, if a cell breaks off, it dies.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, multicellularity is a pretty easy trait to evolve. Like, it's happened, at least a couple dozen times throughout the history of life?
Or more.
Different lineages, yeah, or more.
Yeah, it's because of those coat proteins and because of the stickiness of glycoproteins, which are always on the surface of cells.
Yeah.
And so it was that one's fairly easy. So once you get eukaryotes. The eukaryote step is much more complicated.
Yeah.
Getting to from prokaryotes to eukaryotes. But okay, so the first multicellular life around 900 million. So 900 million years is in what time zone?
Let's see.
It's way back there. That's in the.
It would be sometime during the Proterozoic Eon, but let's see. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Okay. Beginning of the Ediacaran was what?
Long time ago.
I can look that up too.
We're looking it up. Oh my goodness. We should have these facts. We're proper evolutionists would have these facts.
Oh, I've never been proper.
Oh.
Dude, I'm not Erica. I can't just spout off like scientific terms off the top of my head.
Yep.
She has the name.
635 is Ediacaran beginning.
Erica has the name of every hominid ever memorized.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Jorge thinks everybody needs to go to bed. I'm thinking there's some late nighters in the side chat.
Jorge, I have rocks. I have lots of rocks, Jorge, and I've been hitting them with a hammer. And when you hit them with a hammer, you can see the inside of the rock. And I have a microscope. Just telling you. I'm trying to lure Jorge and Brainbug in here.
Brainbug said he was at work, so
yeah,
that's not.
Hold on, guys. I'm gonna. I actually have a 2021 version of the official geologic timescale, so I'm gonna try and find that real quick.
Okay.
And here is Jorge's scientific opinion.
Because they keep updating it.
Hammers are good for hitting rocks.
I think I have a 3 pound or 4 pound maybe. No, maybe it's a 2 pound hammer, but it's a good one. It's a good solid hammer for whacking rocks.
Let's say it's not the size of the rock hammer. It's what you can do with it.
Oh, yeah, well. My kitties do not like when I crack rocks outside.
Probably not. They probably get a little disturbed.
Yeah, they think I'm trying to kill them. They think everything I'm doing is trying to kill them. It's like, I haven't tried to kill you in 8 years, and everything I do, they think, oh no, he's going to kill us now.
Well, see, they spend so much time thinking about how to kill you that they think you must be thinking about how to kill them.
That's probably it. Yep. Oh my goodness. So the Orosirian period, I don't know if that's even a thing on your chart. 1.8 billion years.
Ago?
Yeah. So 1.8 billion.
Sorry, my thing is loading really slowly.
Is it?
Yeah, don't worry. I will get it, and I will let you know what time period 900 million years is in.
Anyway, okay. I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, a long time ago. Whole long time. So, first multicellular.
Literally almost. Oh. I didn't want to notice.
Let's see. Multicellular life, and then we read that part. So then 800 million years ago, they undergo their first splits. They divide essentially into sponges and everything else, the latter being more formally known as Eumetazoa. I pronounced that right? Around 20 million years later, ooh, that isn't very long, a small group called Placozoa breaks away from the rest. Placozoa are thin plate-like creatures about 1 millimeter across, consist of only 3 layers of cells. Oh, the Placozoa, yeah. Those are the guys that seem like good candidates for the beginning of eukaryotes, because some of them have nuclei or a nucleus, and they have the DNA encapsulated in a nucleus, which is pretty rare for eukaryote. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so 900 million years ago, according to this chart, is in the Tonian period of the Neoproterozoic era of the Proterozoic Eon.
Can you send that link to us? Do you have a link for that?
It's a PDF. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It says it's International Chronostratigraphic Chart version 2021, version 5, I guess, is what it says. Because, like you said, they keep updating it.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. And I get investor relations. Oh my God. What the hell? Yeah. I can't find it.
Oh.
Oh, because okay, international what chart?
Chronostratigraphic Chart.
Yeah. Kronos happens to be a stock company. So you get about 5,000 links for them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be interesting to pull up if you can find it.
I think I did find it.
Oh, okay.
International Kronos. Oh, one word. Chronostratigraphic.
Yes.
Okay. We got some pictures. Interactive chart online. I'll link that in the chat because that's a pretty good resource. Is the latest version? Okay. I'll put that in the description of the video.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, so let's see.
Placozoans.
So where are we here? Comb jellies. Okay. The planet freezes and then we have snowball Earth. Or
Yeah.
are we done with the placozoans? Okay, the last common ancestor, it has been suggested they may actually be the last common ancestor of all animals. See, I was right. I was hypothesizing. The
Wait.
planet freezes over. What?
I have some issues with that.
Why?
Well, for starters, why are they saying a modern group is the last common ancestor of all animals?
A modern group?
Well, yeah, like placozoans aren't like something that died off a long time ago. They're still around today.
Oh, yeah, but they probably popped up pretty early because they're very prokaryotic. I mean, they might have lasted that long. Yeah, that is kind of iffy, but at least, well, the placozoans show you that.
I would also say sponges are probably a lot more basal than placozoans based on current evidence.
Yeah, but they said they broke off early, around 800 million years, of sponges and everything else. But the placozoa, the reason that they're talking about them is because they do have, some of them have a nucleus, and they have organs, or basically organelles inside the cell, and that's why placozoa are being looked at. What's that?
Sponges have sponges are eukaryotes too.
Are they?
Yes, they're animals.
Okay.
Speed.
Yes.
I heard somebody come on the backstage, I think.
Peter.
He's right below you.
He's in here.
I look a little bit like someone from Brazil.
Yeah. We're not talking about him today.
Wait. You're going to skip that glorious thing that he did on the hang up? You're just going to skip over that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We were playing
I think people need to know that.
We can show it after we're done with our current topic.
That's okay.
Andrew, I might have got that wrong. It's Placomycetes. It's a protozoan. Placozoa is a eukaryote. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, but I think the Placomycetes is probably the prokaryote that gave rise to eukaryotes, possibly, or something like it. Yeah. At least it shows that it's possible. So anyway, so I was confused. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I thought placozoa was something else. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Or think about this way, or I'm probably going to get this wrong, but zoo, animals, placozoa, animals. Maybe that'll help you remember it.
Yeah. Oh, zoo. Yeah, I know. Okay. Are you fucking with me, Andrew?
No, I'm trying to help.
Actually, I think you're fucking with me.
I'm trying to see some cloud into your skull.
I should have caught it. I'm sorry. Okay. Moving on.
Yep.
Okay. So, planet freezes over. Oh my God. So, this only 730 million years ago, or 770 million years ago. So that's how long it's going to take for Otangelo to start making sense when the planet freezes over again.
Hmm.
Right.
Speed. I thought we weren't going to mention him.
Oh yeah, we are. Okay. Ancestor.
You got to stick to the rules that you make. I mean, otherwise, no one's going to stick to those rules.
I don't have to. I
Yes,
can
you
do
have.
anything I want.
No. Now you're confusing yourself with the guy that Otangelo worships.
Oh, I see.
That's a whole different guy.
Okay, so ancestor Nigerians, jellyfish, and their relatives break away from the other animals. Though there's no fossil evidence of what it looks like.
Yeah, this is all based on molecular clocks dating.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
No fossils of most of this. But we do have some fossil sponges and stuff, but it's all during the Ediacaran, I think.
Yep. Then let's see. So the bilateral, you mentioned bilateral symmetry. We found a fossil that was pretty early.
Yeah.
On Smokey's channel. What was the date of that fossil? The first bilateral that we know of?
I'm pretty sure it was closer to the Cambrian. It was like around. It was kind of closer to the border between the Ediacaran and Cambrian. So around 550 million years ago, I think, if I remember.
Yeah, they're speculating that it happened a lot earlier. So, or small worms, Acela, maybe the closest surviving relatives of the first ever bilateral animal. That's interesting. Dates around 600 million years ago. So Bilateria, 590 million years ago is what they're projecting.
Protostomes. Deuterostomes.
Yep. That's where that breaks off. Anyway, it's a pretty good timeline. And I did show it yesterday, and we did go over it. But okay, earliest known fossils of cnidarians, the jellyfish, are found here, and 575, the Ediacarans. Okay, this is the Ediacaran period, and that's where we have those wonderful. Aren't those fossils found in Canada in the shale?
Canada and Australia and China, I think.
Yeah, that's where we get all the crazy stuff like Ambulacraria and all these alien type looking things, which are pretty cool. But this is when multicellularity got creative, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have moving animals, fossilized animal trails, moving in their own power, 565 million years ago. And then we have the chordates, 540 million years ago. And tunicates and bag of seawater anchored on a rock.
Well, that's kind of mean.
Yeah, that is kind of mean. That's a bad way to describe them. But if we couldn't say tunicate because there were kids around, we'd say bag of seawater anchored to a rock.
Bags of mostly water.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
Star Trek.
Oh, okay. Oh, my God. They actually use that line. Oh, shit. I watched a lot of Star Trek, but I'm proud of the fact that I didn't watch them all. Okay, Cambrian explosion, 535 million years ago. Many new body layouts. Now, one might ask how that happens, and we might answer that question over a period of the next year or so, right? Okay.
Sure.
So tell us about conodonts. What do you know about conodonts?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Let's see. They're chordates. Here, I can try to bring up a picture of one.
Teeth.
Well, why did the Cambrian happen?
Why did the Cambrian happen?
Why did the Cambrian explosion happen?
So it's going to take
God
us a
suddenly
year.
had a big idea and start to go crazy with it.
Yeah. It's going to take about a year to answer that question, basically.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do, do, do,
The genomes of the day were poised to take many, many paths very quickly. And it could also be, I want to get my transposons in there, but it could be some of the introduction of the first viruses, maybe. That could have done it. But something managed to try out a whole lot of body plans real rapidly. And the thing is, if you have a simple organism, if you have a simple embryologically sound organism that develops very simply, there are more ways that you can change it. You can change its overall morphology and shape. And I think that is the key to what happened in the Cambrian.
So
Whoops. What?
those are
Wait a minute.
conodon.
Yeah. The first teeth, right? First teeth, conodons.
Now that's something to nightmare about.
Yep.
Contender for the earliest vertebrate.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see.
They actually didn't know that much about them besides their teeth. But then they recently, I don't know how recently, but they recently found an actual fossil, and now that's how they know they look like that.
Yeah. Okay, so 500 million years ago, fossil evidence shows that animals were exploring the land.
Speed, you're not sharing anymore.
Oh, I'm not. Okay. What happened?
Decided to take up your toys and go home, huh?
Yeah, I did. We were sharing your thing. Let's see. Okay. So fossil, okay, exploring the land, but there were basically just fungi and whatever else on the land at that time. Yeah, bacteria. And
a less fun guy.
Yeah. The first animals to do this, euthocarcinoids, thought to be the missing link between insects and crustaceans. You don't like that?
I don't like that term.
Carcinoids?
No, missing link.
Oh, okay.
I hate that term.
Okay, we'll get rid of that term. I'll cut that out of there.
How do you do that?
I can't. Well, I could if I edited the HTML, but
well, then scroll down.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, quickly, getting out of there. The Great Ordovician Biodiversification Event. You don't hear about that every day.
Yep. Basically the sequel to the Cambrian explosion.
Yeah, we could call it the GOB.
The GOB, the GOB.
The GOB. Leading to the great increase in diversity, which within each of the major groups of animals and plants, many new varieties appear. And then 465 million years ago, we had plants colonizing the land. And then we have the fish splitting into the bony and the cartilaginous fish. Okay. The bony fish split into 440 into two major groups, the lobe-fin fish and the ray fin fish. And the lobe-fin fish are really important, right? That's us. That's our grandpa and grandma.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, well, great. Okay. Common ancestor of the lobe-fin and ray-fin fish probably has simple sacs that function as primitive lungs. So that's kind of where the breathing on land developed. Yeah. And so Smokey was asking.
That's actually kind of, we think, and this was actually news to me. We actually think that lungs were a primitive trait for bony fish and actually were turned into swim bladders in actinopterygians.
Yeah.
The ray-fin fish.
Yeah, the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I think everybody's bored, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm having to mute
yeah,
myself
listen to
because I'm so
description, right?
excited. I just keep speaking up.
So I think what you and Smokey were talking about now, he asked when the first animals popped on the land, and
Right.
we're looking at about 375 to maybe 400 million years ago. We had the Tiktaalik kind of things that were starting to pop on the land.
Yeah.
And that puts it in in the Cambrian, right? Or no, that puts it below.
This is
below.
around Silurian Devonian transition.
Devonian, right? Yeah. Yeah, and what Smokey probably saw is this earlier stuff where the early the first, animals that started to explore the land, sort of thing. Anyway, and then we go from there. And the rest of the story, everybody knows. So I'm going to quit this so we can go talk about Otangelo.
You sure you want to do that?
No, I don't think so. So did he say anything different? Was there something?
He basically got destroyed over the same thing that happened here. Not willing to answer a question.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. How many times have we seen Otangelo do that?
Often.
Let me count the ways.
How many times do we need to see Otangelo do that?
I mean,
I got really tired of him yesterday. With look at the plants. That's evidence for God. Just look at the plants. Yeah. It's like
what?
That's what he said.
To be accurate. He said, "Look at the trees.
Look at the trees."
You have to be accurate.
Well,
look at the trees.
Hey, here's a fun fact for everyone. Nobody really knows how to define a tree.
Yeah.
In biology. We don't really know. There are things that are trees and things that aren't trees, but then there are exceptions to those things that are trees. And then it's pretty messy because what we call treeness is actually a convergent trait. It arose independently multiple times.
So you're saying that evolution is wrong then?
No.
Well, they depend on trees, right?
Wait, what? I know you're messing with me, but what I understand.
So we don't know how to define phylogenetic trees, and how can evolution be right? There you go.
That was bad.
That was bad. That was fucking horrible. Let's back up.
Hey.
Okay.
I got a better joke for you. Why can you never trust an atom?
I don't know.
Because they make up everything. Well, almost everything.
Oh. We'll call SFT Atom.
Okay, I see what you did there.
Yep. Yeah.
Monkey for banana. That's a common definition, but then again, like I said, there are exceptions that aren't technically what we would call. How about this? What exactly is a tree? Fern. It's bigger than a bush, and it looks woody, and it has big leaves and stuff, but it isn't. Or there's actually the video I got this from is on Minute Earth channel, Minute Earth. It's a short little 2-3 minute video about how we don't know what a tree is.
So Amy Newman actually has the shirt. Awesome. That's pretty good. I don't know. Well, what are we going to do, boys and girls?
We could rant.
Or we could review Otangelo.
Yeah. Why don't we just review the Otangelo thing so I don't have to do it later?
Oh my goodness! Oh God, you guys are just gluttons for punishment.
We could talk about some of my stuff with Smokey.
We can talk about the links that we have been doing.
Yeah, we did a bunch of links.
Links? What are you talking about?
On my video description, one of them that we have. Okay, the Tree of Life is on top, and then how easy it is to grow a supermassive black hole.
Okay.
And with Dr. Becky from the Royal Institution. And then let's see, brain bug. Give me a link to that bug we were looking at. That's in the wiki, and that is linked. What do our brains do when we are dreaming? From the Royal Institution.
That's a very interesting one. I was able to watch the whole thing.
Yeah. And how do neural networks grow smarter? That was one you mentioned. I'll throw that in there just for the hell of it, because I don't want to lose track of that one. And I'll go out and look for the Otangelo video.
I have it.
Peter has it.
I have it ready for you.
And also, there's one last link I haven't put. I just put it in the side chat, in the private chat.
We lost AJ.
Oh man, I hope he didn't get mad at us for something. Anyway, the island of the last surviving mammoths. It's on PBS Eons. It just dropped about a half hour ago. That's going to be good.
That's in the description.
So that's what's cool on the weather report.
Hey, Speed.
Yeah.
I have something we can do later, at least. So Jason Torn is here, and maybe we could go on a rant, and we can talk with him about how creationists don't know how to do science. Like, yes. They don't follow the scientific method.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, I'd like to do that before the stream ends, if that's okay. If you're okay with it, Jason.
That means I have to. I'm tired of sending links. I'm opening the stream up. It's 5 o'clock anyway.
Okay.
So Jason, here's the link. Jason, don't anybody else look at that link. It's for Jason. Oh, God damn it! God damn it!
Hey, David.
Hey, fellas. What's going on?
David.
Boy, are you late today?
I know. I was moving somebody. I was helping somebody move. And I will have you guys know that I just got home and I was just eating something before I came on stream. So I was listening to you guys I've been listening for about 5 minutes, and you guys are pathetic. You really are.
We are.
Thank you for the pep talk.
You guys.
Oh my God! Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait a minute. Everybody subscribe to Answers in Atheism because we're fucking pathetic.
Yep.
That's why, David. When you're not around and it's just us, we call you Mr. Sunshine.
Yeah, I know.
You are a sunshine man.
Oh God, guys, come on. Come on, get your goddamn shit together here. God, I leave for 5 minutes and look what happens. The place goes to
I know. Well, we didn't have you to guide us.
That's what happened.
I actually have a question for David.
Yep.
So you were on the stream with Smokey yesterday. Did you guys ever get into any cosmology stuff?
No, I jumped in. I was hoping that we could do it. Me and you. I wanted to join in on
I had to leave because I had to go do some museum stuff. But
they were going. Yeah, they were going on and on. So, and then I waited patiently and just gave them my little spiel, and that was pretty much it. I wasn't on there that long. I was on there for a while, but I didn't really say anything. I just kind of waited and.
That's a shame.
But yeah, it's no big deal. I just had something.
To me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
So what don't you like about the show today, David?
I sent you this link, Speed. Did you watch it?
Yeah, you're the one that sent it. Okay.
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Yeah. No, I watched about 1 second and then I heard Otangelo's voice and I went and took some aspirin.
What?
That poor man. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's really. I mean,
so Speed. Just a heads up. Don't make me full screen.
Okay, but you are full screen, right?
Yeah, no? I meant my.
Oh, okay.
What the?
Oh,
that could be disturbing for some people.
For some people?
No.
Oh, there it is.
It's
Oh
the
my
shroud
gosh.
of Otangelo.
Oh my. So that proves Otangelo really does exist.
Oh, what just happened?
What is going on?
I don't know. Okay, Peter.
I think I have.
Oh, wait a minute. Where's your video? There
It's
it is.
there.
Okay. Okay, got it. I was getting Otangelo yet full screen.
Yeah, I had I had the full the wrong video on. I had you on, so you get blown
the
into
Shroud of
eternity.
Benny.
What?
And don't make me make a Shroud of Danny.
Benny Hill. The Shroud of Benny Hill. That was the Shroud of Benny.
Shroud of Benny Hill.
Yeah. Hey, Jason is here.
Oh.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jason.
What's up, guys?
Welcome.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Just trying to get some work done before the semester starts.
Oh.
You came to the wrong place.
Yeah, you know. I popped on, so and I actually have been emailing with Dressel about talking about climatological aspects, but I haven't gotten a chance to chat with him. So maybe I'll be able to do that.
Climatological aspects of what? Just global warming?
He's wrong about the climate, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. He wanted to talk just about climatology and different aspects. So I told him that I would meet with him when he had a chance.
Okay, so this is a war crime, but Peter's gonna play some Otangelo for us. Where are you, Peter? Peter.
Peter,
I'm here. I'm here. I was just thinking, what's on screen right now, is that an insult to J Mike?
Yeah.
Matt's hang up. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, just tell me when you want me to play it.
Go ahead, play it. We may as well get this over with.
Again. Otangelo, how you doing, man?
Yes, hello, Matt. Hello, J. Mike. I hear you talking about Jesus, so I thought I call in to talk about the historicity of Jesus. I believe that Jesus is portrayed on the Shroud of Turin. So if you think that is a forgery, feel free to explain how the image was made on the shroud.
So if you Google Shroud of Turin forgery, there's countless news articles where scientists have repeatedly demonstrated that the shroud is not an authentic process, or is not authentic in that it doesn't represent an actual real Jesus. But there's many reasons. Joe Nickel from CFI did a number of studies on this in a book. I'm not an expert on the shroud, but one of the things is that if you were to try to map this to a real person, it wouldn't fit because the top of the head meets at the top of the head, which is not possible because heads are rounded. So there would be a gap between the top of the front of the head and the top of the back of the head, but that doesn't exist on the Shroud of Turin. They just meet. With regard to how it was manufactured, that I would argue is shifting the burden of proof. It doesn't matter whether or not J. Mike or myself or anybody else can say, here's how the shroud was faked. The dating methods and everything that would be required to show that it was authentic have repeatedly failed. But if your primary, if you're, I don't know enough, and I'm not here to say whether the shroud is what it is, but if you're just convinced that Jesus is real because of the Shroud of Turin, you are now advocating for something that flies in the face of the actual scientific research on the shroud.
Yeah, and I would add real fast, and Tangela, I know you have an issue with this one because I've talked to you about this before, but there was a study in 1988, and then, like Matt said, there's numerous ones, but there's one in, I believe, the journal PLOS1, I hope I get that right, where they tried to establish blunt force trauma on the shroud, and it's since been retracted. the paper. So when you look at like the actual peer-reviewed papers on these, it's confirming not your position, but the position that it is a forgery. And then when we actually have anything that goes towards that, we've had multiple retracted papers. And I would suggest look at I think I've even cited it to you before, is the PLOS paper that was retracted as well.
It's also, I mean, it's not the type of shroud that would have been used at the time. It isn't laid out the way it would be. I mean, that's not how burial wrappings were done, just folding it over so that you get a perfect image on a flat sheet front and back. I mean, none of this. They can't get it dated beyond the 14th, 13th, 14th, 15th century, something like that, but still ages away from Jesus. So can I ask, Otangelo, since you said that you believe in Jesus because of the shroud, why do you believe the shroud?
There are many reasons, Matt. It is not that I believe that Christ is a historical figure just only because of the shroud, but that if you study it, I have made an entire investigation on it. You claimed about the tissue. There is just one tissue which is very similar, which has been found at Masada from the 1st century, and it is precisely similar to the material, to the tissue used of the shroud. Now, you guys you brought up several things. Well,
Otangelo, real fast, when does it date? When does the actual shroud date? Because you said if you've done research, what does it date? Because I know the date.
Well, there are several newer science papers on the dating of the shroud, and there are some which actually date it to the 1st century. So, I mean, that which you mentioned is from 1988.
They don't.
Science
they don't.
Since then.
There's no carbon dating that dates it earlier than the 13th century.
Yeah, it's 1260 to 1390.
Yeah, that is a test which has been made, which is highly contested. There are, for example, a science paper from 2013.
Otangelo.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, hey, you found a shroud from Masada that dates to the 1st century. If in fact that were true, the scientific method that dates that one to the 1st century is functionally identical to the one that dates the Shroud of Turin to the 13th century. And so when you say that it's contested, let's be honest, it is contested by people who aren't citing science. Nobody's citing science to say that the shroud, the dating the shroud was wrong. They're citing their religious beliefs.
Yeah, and if you actually look in the articles published in Nature, it's a 90. I think they had it dated with a 95% confidence rate, and we got a subsequent confirmation of that in Nature by Anthos Bray. And so I would look into that, because when you're saying this is highly contested, and then I go look and I see that not only is it not what you're saying, it's actually confirming with peer review what I'm saying with higher degrees of confidence, then what you're saying is, no offense, bullshit. It's just not true.
Let me do this, Otangelo, because I genuinely want to. I genuinely want to give you the best opportunity we can. But here's the thing: can we agree that none of the three of us have done any scientific investigation of the shroud, and we're relying on information from other people?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So I would agree with you that I can point to scientists who have scientific studies that date the shroud to 13th century, and let's even say that you could point to an actual scientific dating method that dated it to the 1st century. I don't think you can, but let's say for a second that you could. Would that in any way show that it was a legitimate death shroud for Jesus?
Well, there are many lines of evidence on the shroud, like
that's not what I asked, Otangelo.
Plant pollen, which has been.
That's not what I asked. I said if I granted that you could date it to the 1st century.
It is not just one reason that leads me to
Otangelo, are you going to? Otangelo, would you please just answer the question that you're asked?
Nope.
This is going south.
Why is it so difficult? Why is it so consistently difficult for you to answer the questions asked? I'm trying to build to a point so that I can actually understand you, but instead of being honest and answering the question that is obvious in front of you, you're so afraid that you're going to get tricked or spun or whatever else that you have to add bullshit that isn't relevant. So if I were to grant that you had scientific evidence that dated the Shroud of Turin to the 1st century, would that in any way demonstrate that it belonged to Jesus?
It contributes to the evidence.
Are you going to answer the... You know what, Otangelo? I'm really, 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 really not in the fucking mood. I'm asking a question, and I'm doing you a favor. You just don't know
That's
it yet.
both two of us.
Answer the question, then we could move forward. If I were to grant that you had scientific evidence dating the Shroud to the 1st century, would that in any way demonstrate that it belonged to Jesus?
That alone, no.
Thank you.
He did it. He did it.
Although it would be really nice if you just say no rather than trying to editorialize. So the follow-up question to that is, okay, since that wouldn't do it, what would show that this belonged to Jesus? Now, this is your opportunity that you've been trying to wait, that you were trying to get in the whole time. Please give me one thing that would show that this belonged to Jesus so that we can discuss it. This is how a discussion works. I'm trying to eliminate the irrelevant bullshit. I'm trying to get us focused on a point so that we can address one point at a time, because otherwise you throw out a bunch of stuff and we throw out a bunch of stuff and nobody gets anywhere. Does that make sense?
Okay, I give you just one thing. The image on the shroud.
Okay. What about it?
It looks like Jesus.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
What about the image on the shroud?
It shows a man which was crucified, which is anatomically correct, with the nails put at the right place. There is blood, which is from
It's
a
not
tortured
anatomically
man.
correct.
There is pollen from Jerusalem.
He's just reading from his little blog.
No, stop.
Just pick one issue.
Oh, Tangela. No. Okay, I'm going to try and explain this to you again. I asked you to present one thing that would show that this was Jesus's shroud. You said the image on the shroud, which on itself is not a claim that would show that it ties to Jesus. And when I asked you to explain, then you said the image shows a man who was crucified, a man who was tortured, and it has blood. That's multiple things. And first of all, even if it showed a tortured, crucified person that had blood, that would not tie it to Jesus, would it?
Oh my God.
Well, there are many other things which you are not permitting me
Why
to
will you
mention,
not
so I'm
answer
just
the
sticking
question?
to the
Why
claim.
will you not answer the fucking question, Otangelo?
I said just the image alone is evidence enough to conclude that it is Christ. Nobody knows
No, sir.
how the
No,
image
sir.
was made.
No,
If
sir.
you
No,
have
sir.
an
It's
answer,
not.
great.
I am bending over backwards to give you every opportunity to have an actual useful discussion here, and you are refusing to participate in a fair way. Here's what I asked. I wanted
Like he
one
always
thing
does.
that would demonstrate that it was Jesus, and you presented something and you added a bunch to it. And I'm going to let Mike chime in here in a minute, because Mike, as well as I, already know that there's not a demonstration of blood here. Plus, you don't know whether or not the blood is Jesus's or what Jesus's blood type was. I asked you a question. It could be a shroud from the 1st century that shows a crucified, tortured person, and that still doesn't mean that it's Jesus, correct? One word out of your mouth. One word out of your mouth. It's either correct or incorrect.
Well, I
One
have
word,
actually
correct or
talked to the
incorrect?
experts like
I'm going to hang up on you, Otangelo. One word out of your mouth. Am I correct or incorrect that a shroud showing a crucified, tortured person from the 1st century would not necessarily mean that it's Jesus?
Okay.
Well, to be fair, I guess that's one word, but I asked for either correct or incorrect.
Good job.
Cool. So when I asked you for something that would show that it was tied to Jesus, did you present that?
Yes, I said the image on
No,
the
you
shroud.
didn't. No, you didn't. And you just confirmed you didn't.
I did. I said the image on the shroud is powerful evidence that it is actually Jesus. I talked to the experts like Barry Schwartz. Did you talk to any expert?
Yes, I did. I spoke to Joe Nickel personally.
Can you speed it up?
Go ahead, Mike.
Speed it up?
Yeah, a little bit.
Barry Schwartz.
No, I said go ahead, Mike. I didn't say go ahead,
He was
Otangelo.
part-
Okay, now I'm muting you. I'm muting you, Otangelo, because Mike has something he wants to say. Mike's going to try this because I can't get you to answer a question honestly. So now I'm going to let Mike do this. Go ahead.
So I'm going to kind of stick with.
Hang on. I unmuted Otangelo so that he would be able to respond to Mike, but it turns out that Otangelo was just talking the whole time he was muted. Conversation. He's not interested in an honest one. I'm gonna pause this again.
You're dishonest, Matt. You're dishonest, Matt. You're dishonest.
What?
He's mad. He's mad now.
Okay. Now you're muted again, and you can accuse me of being dishonest as many times as you want, but rewind this conversation, and what did I say? I asked specific questions, and I guided those questions towards reliable evidence. You are the one who acknowledged that what you presented was not direct evidence that it was tied to Jesus, and then turned around and tried to claim it was. You were the one who, even when muted, continued to sit there and ramble and rant. And now, when I try to let Mike have a conversation with you, you are not interested in that. You want to bitch about me. So I'm going to unmute you now. Mike wants to ask you something, and you're either going to continue this conversation, or I will take another caller. You can ramble about how unfair I am all you want. I'm trying to save our callers a waste of time. Go ahead, Mike.
So, Tangelo, how do you know that I didn't time travel and actually have the Shroud of Turin is actually my face? How do you not know that?
It does look like J Mike.
Yeah, he's got a perfectly fine argument there.
Why? Because what? No, stop, Tangelo, stop. I'm asking you specifically for a reason.
I mean,
in virtue of what can you give me, right? Because you're going to want evidence of that claim, correct? That I time traveled and the Shroud of Turin is actually just my face. And I could even just state, well, the 1300 is actually closer to the year 2000, and it's actually closer to my date than Jesus is. I can say stuff. And make up stuff just like you. It can be reflective of my imagination the same way that...
A serious conversation,
Angela, stop.
Or are you just making stupid claims here and asking stupid questions? That's what you're doing right now. You are not serious.
So I muted you, Otangelo, and I'm going to talk to you while you're muted. Because you're not going to just sit here and suggest that we're being stupid or disrespect my co-host, who's actually asking a question that I would agree with you is something that we intuitively find ridiculous. You find it ridiculous, but so does J Mike, and so do I. And the point that he's trying to make, you obtuse moron, is that you would want evidence that did time travel. You would want this absurd claim of time travel to be justified. This is what J Mike is building towards, is that before we have a belief in something, we should have good evidence for it. And what we're trying to do is to analyze the evidence that you claim is that the shroud is strong evidence of Jesus. That's what you're trying to do. And J Mike is arguing by analogy about another potential explanation. And how would we go about demonstrating whether or not that was reasonable? I'm going to unmute you for the last time. Do you understand what J Mike is trying to get to?
Yeah, of course, you guys can set the level of evidence that you demand so high that you will never be able to meet it. Always fit into your incredulity.
So your standards of evidence are so low, Tangelo, that you're going to you'll accept my claim? Because in virtue of you saying that, what you're saying is that you're now going to special plead for your alternative explanation versus the one that I'm giving, at which now you've thrown away standards of evidence. So you should accept my claim. Otherwise, in virtue of more evidence or higher standards of evidence.
What you just did, Otangelo, is when we started talking about standards of evidence, you are essentially saying that our standard of evidence is too high. And we are saying your standard of evidence is too low. And so we could actually have a conversation where we figure out which of those, if either, is actually true. You're saying that our standards of evidence are too high. Well, you believe in a God who could meet our standards of evidence, but does not. And we're saying your standards of evidence are too low because you are advocating for a shroud that has been repeatedly demonstrated to be a fraud. And when questioned about it, Even if I were to grant all of your claims, it still would
That
not.
has not been demonstrated.
It has been demonstrated to be a fraud repeatedly.
No.
But even if I granted all of that, if I set all of that aside and granted what you say, it would not prove your point. And yet this is why we're saying your standards of evidence are too low. So hang on. Hang on. I don't know that a shroud could meet my standards. I'm not the person claiming that it's sufficient to justify believing in a Jesus.
That is your problem, Matt, because you don't even know what evidence would convince you that a
You're
God
wrong.
exists.
No,
So
hang on.
How is it
Otangelo,
meaningful to
hang
have even conversations with
Otangelo,
you for 15
hang on.
years if you don't even know what will convince you?
Otangelo, shut the fuck up. Listen.
Oh, that's good.
I don't necessarily know what specific piece of evidence would convince me, but I know which pieces of evidence wouldn't convince me.
Peter, soundboard that.
Someone comes and says, "Oh, Jesus spoke to me." That would not and should not convince me or anyone. If somebody comes up and says, "This piece of cloth, which has not been reliably dated to within 12 centuries of when Jesus purportedly existed, is sufficient to convince me that Jesus existed," I'm going to say that's not sufficient. You are trying to pretend that I am unconvincible. Well, that's clearly not true. I am happy to be convinced of anything when the evidence
That's your
warrants it.
problem, Matt. You're not a moron like me. That's
Don't
your
sell me
problem.
short. I put up with your shit for a long time. Don't sell me short.
How long does this go on?
People like you have been claiming that the shittiest evidence around is sufficient to warrant believing in the supernatural. Why has your God abandoned you? Why won't your God show up and help you stop looking foolish?
You can think that I look foolish, care about your opinion. Your opinion is just your opinion. What is at stake is your salvation. It's not mine. I know my salvation is granted to Christ, which died on the cross for me.
Prove it.
You reject it.
Prove it.
It's your problem. It's your
No, it's your problem. You're the one making a claim that you cannot prove.
Which you constantly entertain with your lies.
Okay, now you're calling me a liar. I'm gonna unmute you in a second, Otangelo. Pay very, 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 very close attention. I'm gonna unmute you. And when I do, I'm gonna say, what lie have I told? And if anything other than an actual lie that I've told comes out of your mouth, you'll be banned from this show and all the shows I'm on forever. Ready? You are unmuted. What lie did I tell?
Your worldview is a lie.
Goodbye. Katie, please add Otangelo back to the banned forever list. You don't get to come and call me a liar.
I'm embarrassed for him. Your worldview is
Okay. Now, is this not J Mike?
Yeah, it's J Mike.
That's J Mike.
Okay. That's J.
That is fucking spooky.
What it looks like.
Now, how did this Shroud of Turin get the mustache and the beard? And how did it end up being exactly like the Caucasianized version of Jesus that it was hanging in my church when I was 6 years old?
Another thing is, how is it not anatomically correct? Because it isn't.
It looks like what someone painting a body that they thought Jesus looked like in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And his legs are too long and his torso's too short.
I don't understand what the miracle is. You could just paint it.
Hey, Amy.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Amy.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
I just been Otangelo'd. I feel bad. I need something for my tummy.
It happens.
By the way, Amy, you will be pleased to know that later in this show, the freak joined.
Oh, really?
He didn't make it as long as Otangelo.
Hey, so there you go. You know he's a real person.
Yeah, the only thing that it took for him to get kicked off of the show is that he said that both Christianity and Islam were correct, were accurate.
Yeah, that tends to be his thing. I forget what term he... he's a born-again Muslim. There we go. That's
No. Muhammad was a born-again Christian.
A born-again... Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at this thing as an ink blot test. I think Stephanie came up with 2 children in the playground. I don't know.
Ringing bells.
I see 4 cockroaches. Or two trilobites chasing two cockroaches. That's what I see. I don't know.
I was told that there were 4 vaginas. The moment you're told that, you could never unsee that.
I see penguins. No. Definitely penguins.
Peter, this is a kid-friendly show. We
Is
can't
it?
say vagina. We can't say sex or vagina.
You have Otangelo on a kid-friendly show.
I know. That's bad.
You should be crucified for that.
Unless you're asking what the essence of a pen is, which we can all confirm is the penis.
I have a question.
What's your question? I'm glad you have a question, Andrew.
Everyone's waiting with bated breath and then nothing.
You might want to share that question with us.
Okay. So is this? I'm not too familiar with Matt's show. So do they only let Christians and believers on, or does he talk to other atheists, or what's?
So on any, I don't think that was actually an ACA show. I think that was The Line. But on any ACA show, they allow anyone, and then they give priority to theists.
Yeah, you'll never get on if you're an atheist on ACA. I've tried.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The only way to get on is to fly down there and sit in their audience. And then you won't get on the show, but you could sit in the audience. So anyway.
Also, this is reaching far, far back, but I was eating, so I got to say it now, which is it makes sense to talk about all the life. They're obsessed with abiogenesis anyway, so I can bring it back there. But it makes sense why life is, I wouldn't say easy, but there was a long time of single-celled life, and that it seems to be hard for almost this mutual cells working with in completely different genome of cells, our mitochondria and our cells, and that seems to be more rare. I also think that's why, there's probably lots of single-celled life out there in the universe, but to get this cooperation where you get big fruiting bodies, it may be much harder.
Right. That was the crossover point where complexity exploded. And that is, it's a very interesting thing to wonder at how many times that could happen. Whether that is common out there. But yeah, we're going to find a lot of bacteria soup if we ever start exploring the stars the way we hope to. So
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Andrew?
Is Jason
he's still here.
Yeah, I'm here.
He looks free to me. I don't know. He's not behind bars. That's good. He's free.
Okay. So I guess I was on Smokey's channel yesterday, and one someone made the claim that the scientific process is rooted in the foundations of Christianity, and I want to know what your thoughts were on that, and do you think it's a relevant argument, or how do you think it affects how we do science?
Yeah, I mean, lots of folks bring up this topic, which I think that what you just mentioned is somewhat disingenuous, like what they said, because certainly science has its foundations in a time period when Christianity was the dominant force in societies, and so therefore, obviously, science efforts and scientific, discoveries were being made by individuals who were Christians, because you more than likely couldn't even, if you weren't a Christian, then you would be ostracized from the society. You wouldn't even be able to do science if you weren't a Christian. However, to say that science has its foundations in Christianity I think that's a stretch. I mean, I think you could say that like the science evolved and, had its, actually not even had its start with Christianity, obviously, because,
Right.
People are doing science before Christianity. But that the components of Christianity certainly may have,
Influenced.
yeah, I mean, and I would even say that's a stretch. I mean, I would just say
Okay.
that, like, people were Christians. They're kind of like, I don't want to say mutually exclusive, but that there were individuals who were Christians who were doing science and that did move forward scientific ideas. So it wasn't
Right.
like Christianity, like, said science is a no-no, you can't conduct any science at all. Although there is a lot of, we know for a fact that individuals who had ideas that were contrary to Christian writings were ostracized and executed. So, I think it's kind of a mixed bag. I think you could just say that, like, there were scientists who were Christians who did have, who moved science forward, but I would not say that
Well, because
science came from Christianity.
Right, because the specific claim I hear is because I hold to the idea that science, or one of the axioms that support science, or I guess science is based on, is that the world is knowable through observation, and the people who make this claim say or often say that is based on the idea that God has placed order in the laws of the universe. Does that kind of change the argument you're making, or?
Well, in that case, are you talking about a deistic kind of God, a God that's involved, or see? I think really there were two big events, that happened throughout, the awakening, the Great Awakening, I think they call it, is there was the Protestant Reformation, but also there was great growth in science and discoveries. And I think that the engine that kind of fired all that or carried that along was the Enlightenment, where, people were looking at rationality and science to, kind of light the way for them. And so I see what you're talking about as more of an outgrowth of the Enlightenment, just like, the individual's ability to come to knowledge of things of the world around us, allowed science to go forth. So did the Protestant movement, because that's when the idea that individuals could know the will of God through their own personal reading of the Bible came around. So this individuality, this individual, and this optimism that people can learn and learn and learn and be able to grasp hold of the mysteries of the universe and such, was part of that movement.
And what was your response going to be, Jason?
I didn't. Could you repeat what you said? Essentially, what's my take on that God, that people have a belief that God was instrumental in formulating, like, the natural processes of our world, or?
Right, like, do you think that's essentially what the axiom of science that we can truly, or at least kind of pick at the world and gain information about it from that? Do you think that those two ideas are the same and are based in Christianity, or that idea that God set the laws in motion, or that he set order to the laws, I guess?
I mean, I hear this a lot of, like, this fine-tuned argument, the world is the way it is because it couldn't have been any other way, and that there's a structure to the world, how, like, God constructed that structure. I feel like it's just a very convenient thing to say. So I guess I'm not sure I'm giving a cogent answer, but in general, I don't really see a connection between, making a statement that, there's this being who formed the world in the way that we perceive it. Therefore, the things that we're doing to evaluate the world and the methodologies we're using to evaluate the world are naturally contingent upon this God that created this structure.
Okay.
It seems kind of like a circular argument to me.
Okay,
In fact,
oh, go
can
ahead.
I butt in for 1 second? Because
Sure.
I see religions do this all the time. They're like, how can you even logic without our specific religion? How can you even morality without our specific religion? But when you actually look at it, it's like their specific whatever really doesn't help all that much. It's just the opinions of that one dude or whoever amount of dudes that decided to write it. It's not like the fact that that a rabbi coming back from the dead and then waiting 3 days and then going up to reign supreme in heaven gets us any closer to logic in any form ever.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to understand. What they do is they claim it. And what they do is they go back to deistic claims.
Right.
And then they argue from these deistic claims and go, how can we even know that we exist? Well, you were telling me that your God talked to Muhammad. We weren't talking about existence, and that conversation seemed to happen in the physical world. So before they can claim that their God is the axiom, the existence that makes all of existence exist, they need to please prove their deities, and all of this is real.
Right. So for both of you, do you think it would be a kind of realistic or accurate statement to say, because for me, science is kind of our basal drive of curiosity and rationality put to kind of a more, I wouldn't say solid, because there is no the scientific method, for example, but like kind of a more standard approach and logical approach to it, and that kind of may have influenced these claims, that science may have influenced religion more so than religion may have influenced or started science.
I mean, certainly there's probably, it's not a black or white issue. I mean,
right.
It may be that religious, naturally societies formed in a manner that had religiosity built into it. And there was a natural curiosity around why things are happening the way they are. And so there was an effort of exploring ideas that had a religious connection. And so certainly, there may have been situations where individuals were trying to discover or uncover why the world worked the way that it does. The problem, I think, is that at a certain point, there became conflicts between what religiously is being stated and what is being uncovered scientifically. And that's where there was, I think, a divergence. But certainly there was time periods when people who were of a religious nature were exploring the world. And if their ideas didn't conflict with religious viewpoints, then I think religions and, organizations that were that were like foundations of those religions were fine with that. If you had a hypothesis that said XYZ and that supported your religious viewpoints, great. But if it didn't, then you're at an impasse.
Right.
Anyways, go ahead.
So I guess, should I move on to another question I had?
Sure.
Yeah, kind of a different topic, mostly altogether. Basically, do you think scientifically, or that a scientist, using like a real scientific rational way of looking at it, based on the fact that we can understand the world and do that through empirical means, if something miraculous or anomalous, like the example I hear of stars arranging themselves to spell out a certain prophet's name, would that kind of would we be forced in that case to conclude that it was supernatural, or just that we don't know what's going on?
Can I respond to this? Because
Sure, you can go, and then I'd like to hear what Jason had to say.
Oh, sure. It might be the Jewish background, but to answer a question with a question, if I were to come to you and the star and said, look up, and the stars aligned, and it said there is no God, would that be reason enough to then conclude that there is no God?
Okay.
I mean, this topic.
Nice.
I mean, these are always interesting questions where people are like, if the stars got rearranged and said, "I am your God," have no other gods before me, or something like that, would that be evidence for God? And I know you mentioned something about like a supernatural event. I don't even know what supernatural means, because if something were to occur and like it's being deemed as supernatural, like the stars moved, and we're like, we can't explain why that happened and those stars got arranged, that's proof for God. And that's technically not, and we just don't know why that happened. And then at some point, we always end up explaining why these supernatural events occur, and then they're no longer supernatural because they are now naturally known phenomena. So if the stars arrange themselves in that manner, would it be proof for God? Well, I mean, I hate to kind of fall back on this issue of like, as an atheist, somebody might say, what evidence would be, good evidence for you to prove God? Well, if we're saying that God is that which, is this unknown supernatural being that created the world, I'm not sure, based on my worldview, that there would be any evidence for that. I mean, if that God is a supernatural God, and I'm a naturalist that believes that the world has natural explanations, I'm not sure. And then maybe this is incoherent. I don't know.
Like the way I personally like to think of it is kind of that the supernatural, rather than actual thing, is kind of more a statement when we are ignorant about something, or that kind of gets thrown on there when we're ignorant about something.
I mean, can there be a supernatural event?
Right.
Is it even possible? Have we ever witnessed a supernatural event?
Well, no, because I mean, if an atheist, if you saw a god, right, I'm pretty sure an atheist would just describe it as something natural, even if it was super powerful.
Right, and this is kind of why I don't like the terms natural and supernatural, because they kind of don't really have a real function. I just care about, can I understand what's going on here? And if not, then I'm going to keep trying to understand it.
I mean, the fuzzy term for me is super. I don't really know what super means. Super size, that could mean double, that could mean triple, it could mean infinity. It could mean outside of time and space. My general thing is, I always like to ask, is your God natural or non-natural?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. I mean, because if your position is God is supernatural, like we have no way of understanding anything outside the natural world. We just don't.
And that's not to say that such a world doesn't exist beyond our comprehension, only that we can't get to it, right? Scientifically, at least.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I keep harping on this, but basically the idea of supernatural is like it's a folk idea that almost always means something to do with a human being's mind being projected onto something else. And when you think about it, when you think about what would truly be supernatural, then it would automatically become some super physical thing, right? So it would still be fucking natural. So the term only makes sense if you look at it as people use it. I mean, they're talking about ghosts. They're talking about big, huge, super omniscient beings that are like humans that live somewhere in another dimension that control us. So they're always talking about agency in humans, which is kind of a real folksy, funny little dumb primate thing to do. So So I mean, it doesn't even.
Yeah, I think atheists should probably use the term was it preternatural. That term needs to come back.
Preternatural. Yeah. What the hell does that mean?
Beyond normal. It is
beyond normal.
Extremely
Yeah.
uncommon
Yeah.
or unique.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I was going to say, what does it matter if it's pretty?
I was just looking at a preternatural bug under my microscope. So.
Yeah, I mean, the like ghosts, like technically, like I mean, there's some people that make the argument that ghosts can be naturally explained. That there's a natural reasoning around that, and we can scientifically explain it, but we just haven't been able to do that. Like we haven't, our science hasn't evolved to a point where we can actually explain that, like on a different dimension, or like I don't know. So if somebody came to me and said, God is not supernatural, God is of the natural world, it's just that we have an inability to understand that, that would make, I mean, that's more acceptable than to say that it's outside of the known world, the natural world, to me. And again, that could, maybe my position is incoherent. I don't know, but that's just my perspective.
You know, I think Christians, like theists, even use the terms backwards, because I think if you think God is the basic state, and then creation comes from that, God would be natural, and then creation would be supernatural.
I found a proof for God right here. There you go.
No.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, that explains it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that was designed.
I thought you were going to show a picture of Montangelo for a second.
Oh yeah.
Now you need to show the gif of that guy that has his hand up on the board with all the red strings going everywhere.
I mean, this, you know, when you ask your engineers to go out and, you know, design something for you, this is what you want to see them come back with, is a diagram like this. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It has to do with mitosis, I believe.
And I always ask creationists, would you like a complex way of getting into your car or a simple way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your thoughts on my questions, Jason.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem.
You know, kind of related to that is, it's kind of weird how the idea is that God brings order, and because things are so orderly, and you know they believed in God and knew that everything would be orderly, but then you have miracles, healings. God stopped the sun from moving across the sky. He caused dead people to hop up out of the ground. Everything that violates that order, but we still science came from Christianity because God is a God of order. That,
right.
That it's kind of at tension with itself.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it.
It's a great.
Where are the natural laws and order in that? You know, in all the miracles. It's just like.
So, I basically, because I made the exact opposite argument the other day, I felt kind of like obligated to come in here and kind of respond. But so, Scott Duke, what you just talked about, when you talk about presuppositionalism, there is Michael Martin's response, the transcendental argument for the non-existence of God, and he makes exactly the same point that you just said about science and miracles. And
is that Michael Martin you said?
Yeah. In my opinion, that dude is like the best atheist philosopher that the 20th and 21st century ever had. And that, even though Graham Oppie is still trucking, sorry, Graham, got to give it to Michael Martin. So like, I wanted to respond to that, right? Amy's question about there is no God forming in the sky, and then Jason's response there talking about like, if it did happen, can we regard it as evidence, and like, trying to analyze the supernatural and stuff like that. I'm gonna try to make this quick. So the first thing is that when you consider it as miracle, right, where you're talking about it's breaking order, it's breaking the way that the natural world would naturally work. And so if that's how we're understanding miracle, where it's breaking those laws, the stars forming in the sky is like that is breaking general relativity. So I mean, like, it is disrupting the way that we understand nature to work. It's breaking those laws. And in the scriptures, you find the idea of there being this being who can break those laws. He can make the sun stand still in the sky. He can raise those dead saints from the grave. So I think that that does count as evidence, evidence that I would have to take seriously if I see a message like that forming in the sky. But what if I see Amy's message form in the sky, that there is no God? This still suggests to me some kind of higher power at work. It might not be a God. It seems really weird that God would be forming that message in the sky. So I would think that it would come from another source, but I wouldn't be able to name that other source. But irrespective of what that source was, it would still suggest to me that there's some kind of extremely advanced power way beyond humankind that's able to manipulate the stars in that way. And that's as far as I would be able to take that evidence. But if it actually did form in the sky, that there was a God, that, you know, like I usually say, I am Jesus, I am Lord, I am coming. If that forms in the sky, it's identifying a particular source and is demonstrating a remarkable power and being able to like move the stars in that way. I would have to take that seriously myself.
But can I respond to that when you're done?
Sorry. I just had a real quick counter argument, but you can go ahead, Amy.
Well, it was your question originally. I feel bad if you want to go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna give my thoughts on it because you mentioned general relativity, Dissel, and it seems to me like you could say the exact same thing about how the center of a black hole breaks general relativity. Is that a miracle? Well, obviously, in that sense, it's just something we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
Right. So the way that I would respond to that is that when you get to that level, talking about like a black hole singularity, you're getting to the edge of our knowledge, somewhere where it does break down and we just don't understand it. But the stars you're arranging in the sky that way at that macro level should be within the bounds of what we regard ourselves as knowing already. And that ties into the whole idea about miracles disrupting known order, like, you know, what we would expect to happen based on our understanding of how the natural world works.
Can I just respond to that? Because so it is, what you're saying is that you would then worship that thing, or what would happen? So run me through, like it says there is no God in the sky. Does that mean you no longer believe in Christianity, but now the guide is to find out whatever that intelligent, because it just seems like that comes from some other sort of conscious, but it could just be a bunch of schmucks that got a hold of technology that to us looks amazing.
What if Penn and Teller got together with Bill Gates and put together a ray gun, and it was it was an illusion or whatever? How, are you going to take those steps to try to figure it out?
Like, be more serious. Like, how do you tell the difference between Yahweh doing it and a Type 3 civilization doing it?
Yeah. So I think we kind of got into that question a little bit last time because Leo brought up that point. So, like, the first thing I wanted to say, which was basically my response to Leo when he brought up that concern, was that when you identify the particular being in the sky like that, like it actually says, I am Jesus, I am Lord, I am coming, I don't see an extraterrestrial civilization having any like motive for identifying themselves that way. Like, why reference a particular supernatural being found in the scriptures? They could theoretically do it, but I mean, at the same time, there's no reason to predict seeing that kind of message in the sky from that extraterrestrial
But
species.
we're going with the scenario that there is no God in the sky. So what happens? What in your life changes when you see there is no God in the sky written in stars?
So with the there is no God, basically what would happen for me is, like I said before, I would have to recognize that there's some higher power at work beyond humanity, but it could turn out to be those like high-tech schmucks that you were talking about. I have no idea. All I would be able to tell from that particular message, because it's giving me a negative message, it's not affirming who they are, it's just telling me something that's not the case. All I can infer from that is that there is some source for that is really advanced in its power, but I have no idea what that source is. I can't do anything with it other than recognize that it exists, whoever the hell they are.
Can we freeze frame that for just 1 second? That is the exact explanation that anyone that sees I am God should do. They should say, you know what, it could be a God, but it could just be two schmucks manipulating from a really advanced civilization.
Yeah. I mean, let me just say one thing. That's, while I can appreciate this position, like like throughout history, people have, with their known base of scientific knowledge, have been exposed to things that they were like, this is mind-blowing. How could this possibly be? It is against everything that we know. It must be God. And so even like if the stars arrange themselves, there could be reasonings, whether it be intentional or facets of science that we just don't have knowledge of, that could be, I mean, that we, all I would say is we just don't know. Like if the stars arrange themselves and we're like, this goes against known general relativity, that couldn't possibly be the case. I would still wouldn't leap to the position that it's just something that we don't know. We can't explain it.
And see, and that's the real problem that I have, though, because I mean, at that point, right, when you take up that kind of operating procedure, so like at that point, the stars could rearrange in the sky. Jesus could come back for a second time. The rapture could happen. The end of the world.
Whoa! Did I see here?
Whoa! Excuse me. 1 second. Let me just finish my thought there. All of those things could happen, and yet scientists would be sitting there trying to come to a naturalistic explanation of all of these events because they're simply things that we don't understand. But I think that it would be highly appropriate once these things start to happen to go on and convert to Christianity, because it predicts that all of these things would happen. So I mean, like, it's just like, I can't imagine that, like, here we would be on like, it's after the rapture, we're year 4 in the Antichrist reign. And all we're trying to do is try to figure out why the stars rearranged that way, why millions of people suddenly disappeared without an explanation, why this one particular figure has taken over the entire world and is marking people with marks of the beast and shit like that. And yet here we are trying to understand this from a naturalistic perspective. Don't you think that goes too far?
No, I mean, I've been holding on to this for a while. So. Let me say this. A long-term asymmetrical warfare from a distant, highly advanced civilization.
So, and that's one of the things that I wanted to respond to, because that's Amy's point too. It could be two schmucks from an alien civilization that's highly...
No. This isn't schmucks. These are people with a motivation of reducing resistance, right? So they could send reconnaissance, create the New Testament, knowing that they're going to do these things later to basically make resistance zero when it happens.
Why wouldn't they just... There are things about this, like these kinds of hypotheses that's being suggested here by you, Cerberus, and also by Amy. And I want to focus on Amy's really quick first, and then try to do with yours, because I think yours is a little bit better. But like with Amy's example, you're trying to tell me that there would be some alien civilization so unbelievably, advanced that they were able to control even the arrangements of the stars, and the message that they choose to form in the sky is basically just a prank. I mean, like, I don't see that would be like the rationale of these people. I don't, like, you would have to have auxiliary hypotheses about the nature of these people that you can't confirm or deny or anything like that. Like Speed gave the example the other day about aliens wanting us to go to church, and so they would arrange the stars that way. But these are just methods of harmonizing that hypothesis with the data. They do not specifically predict that kind of data like the scriptures would in terms of this being that they say exists.
And if I could just say, it was them either, it could be a million different scenarios for why an alien civilization would either want to say yes or no to that question. The point is just to say that would be a data entry, but you can't just go on what you see just up there. It could be that It could be aliens. It could be that something went wrong and we just all saw something.
We don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, exactly. Is the main point is.
I don't understand why we don't know is not a valid response. It's
And actually, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that you went into Jesus coming back from the dead, the apocalypse, a whole bunch of things on the end of that. Because the original situation, we really are kind of talking about either a civilization, either trying to either trick us or actually give us a message. But either way, it doesn't sound like you would give up Christianity at that point. It doesn't sound like at that point, if they said no, there is no God, that you would then go, well, I got this Christian thing wrong. There's clearly not that God, but whatever is this more advanced civilization is the ones in the sky.
So the reason why I added all that on to the end is because, like, you guys were suggesting this procedure where if these events happened, you wouldn't consider that evidence for these things. So, like, I was given an example of how this could accumulate, and still we would still be on this quest to understand it naturalistically. Just for the record, Amy, you seem to have assumed a couple of times that I'm a believer. I'm not, though. I'm an atheist already. It's just that, like, I would regard these particular kinds of events as evidence for theism. And so, like, I tried to give an argument for why I would remain open to them in that way. I can understand what you guys are saying about the supernatural and about how it, always resting at the edge of our knowledge. And I think that there's a reason for that, that the supernatural is basically parasitic on our ignorance. That's the way that it operates. It always tries to find the boundary of our knowledge and try to bring us down at that, at the edge. But, like, my thing is still that if I were to see evidence of events that actually broke the laws as we firmly understand them, like not at the level of the edge of our knowledge, but rather in terms of, like, established, well-known scientific facts and principles. And if it's going to just completely destroy those things and at the same time suggest a specific theological source, like Jesus being Lord and coming, like, that counts as evidence for me still.
But don't you think it would also be evidence for there not being a God if the stars arranged themselves in a manner that said there is no God?
Actually, the reason why I kind of the reason why I hesitate to say so is because, like, when I see that happening in the sky, a safe inference I feel that I'm making is that there is some advanced power, whatever this power would be. Like, I can't identify who it is, but now I at least know that it's there. And so that opens up a new door for me in terms of, like, well, I didn't really think that there were any higher powers that had, like, this capability out there. So what else don't I understand? Like, it kind of opens the door to that kind of supernatural, taking the supernatural more seriously, just as I would have to take more seriously alien civilizations.
I would also like to say they make claims. And it's also awesome that you can even steel man their arguments, Jace. The type of claims, like the supernatural, like the physics-defying events that they also like to bring up, they happen hundreds, thousands of years ago at best, often, and they want us to oftentimes take these miraculous events as evidence, but almost always they tend to be the claims. And so, like, I would love to be like, Jesus, how did you come back from the dead? Could you explain that for me? But they generally have to say, well, the thing is that Paul actually had a conversation a little bit after, 50 years or so after he died, and and then we have to start collecting second, third-hand anecdotal. I wish that star thing would happen because then we would actually have something in real time to judge.
If the message in the sky were Jesus loves you, or whatever the original proposition was, I would think that we'd have to get a whole bunch of cheerleaders together on a football field and have them form out the words, and they might need to recruit the marching band for this. You talking to me? ? Because Jesus is Lord is really actually kind of an ambiguous message. It doesn't really affirm Christianity in the forms it is today, because at the very beginning, Jesus was perceived as pretty much just being for the Jews, and then later on, through its growth through the Roman civilization, they kind of retrofitted it to be something that was for the Gentiles. So even a message like that is kind of ambiguous and a poor way to communicate to mankind.
There's a lot of tedious history that you're prompting me to get into with that one, but I'm gonna save my response maybe for another time. I know Jason had something that he wanted to say. I wanted to hear his thoughts, since I've been kind of challenging what him and Amy had to say.
No, actually, I think you're bringing up really good points, and it's actually making me think about this, and actually making me think that I'm a pure naturalist, that there is no such evidence that can be provided that would prove God's existence. Which, again, maybe that's not. Maybe there are good claims that can be made against that, but the thing that makes me think when you're bringing up those topics is that throughout history there have been things that, like, we have discovered that were so contrary to what we knew scientifically that it looked like it could be perceived as so ridiculous. How could this possibly be the case? Like quantum mechanics, or even like plate tectonics. Or we're going to say, oh, the continents actually moved. The continents were at one time all together, and now they're not. I mean, creationists themselves are like, that can't possibly be the case. But we know scientifically that occurred. So it's good to kind of have these philosophical positions of, like, let's pick something that is so crazy. Would I believe that God existed if I saw that? But given the past, and when situations like that have occurred, we've ultimately discovered that there are naturalistic reasons for that. So, while I think it's a good exercise to think about, and maybe Drace, we can talk more about that, because I love having those kinds of discussions. It making me think that maybe I'm just a pure naturalist, and that there is no such evidence that could be provided that God exists. So,
Speed, can you make me full screen so I don't have to interrupt what is going on? I think I've got an answer, but...
but I have a precious thing on the screen that I got from Faithful, Honest, and True. Jason Ezard sent it to a bunch of us. Anyway, you notice...
That looks fun.
Peter, you're not in there. Apparently, you made it to heaven. What?
I apparently I did.
Congratulations, Peter.
Like
Amy's not in there either.
Yeah, I made it.
The funny thing about this sort of image about hell is they don't realize that if you're just a skeleton, you don't have nerve endings.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
Speed,
Yeah.
what? Oh, I'm not.
I'm sorry,
I'm not the character in that picture.
Yeah. You're the guy standing over us, right?
Yes.
All-knowing God knows the evidence I need to be convinced of it, and all-powerful God is able to provide that evidence. All-loving God, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like to start with the idea.
You missed the last sentence, and that is what's keeping him.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We're going to have to do a kind of a continuation of this discussion at another time, because I know we're coming up. Yeah, we're about to shoot in the head, and all this talk just gave me a whole bunch of further ideas to ponder. And so it's kind of disappointing that we're about to shoot it in the head and make the cow sing.
Yeah, and when we get back together, we have to consider some other supernatural things that might, like for instance, just quickly, suppose we found a cubic meter somewhere at the bottom of the ocean or a valley or something like that, where the laws of physics completely broke down and everything that went in turned into particles and the particles did something they weren't supposed to do. Instead of flying back out again, they went in a whirly loop or something like that. It was just everything is wrong. Like all of the laws of physics broke down in this 1 cubic meter of space. What would we think of that? Would we believe in God? Would we believe in, what? I mean, it's worth considering that because it separates out this idea of agency from supernatural. Because every example that I've heard so far has something to do with agency. Well, if we took Drace's example and we saw this agency like written in the sky, then automatically we would think of all the possible agents that could have done that, like some advanced civilization, Bill Gates, whatever.
Talking about advanced civilizations, I'd suggest you take me off full screen because I just could porn bomb everyone now.
Oh no!
And
you want to say sex? Oh, there's this wonderful picture. So Jason Edwards sent me an email about some guy that spent 90 minutes in heaven after he got crunched by a semi or something. And then this, and the other day he sent me this really, really thoughtful article about how the COVID vaccine kills everybody. It gets, it just keeps coming. It keeps coming. Anyway.
And if I could just add on one last thing, we don't seem to get any physical evidence. Stars in the sky, either yes or no, would give us evidence the first time in either direction. But we don't seem to have anything physical.
What do we worry about this shit when it actually happens?
That's a fair point.
I don't think it's actually possible to have evidence in either direction.
Well, I'm going to go start working on my prankster laser satellite Skyrider.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, boys and girls, we should shoot it in the head and reconvene tomorrow at 4 p.m. in case we want to go further. Or, suggest a stream and we'll get on and we'll kick a topic around. That would be good too. Okay?
Okay.
Woo-woo.
Can we kill it?
Sounds good.
Anybody? Any last minutes?
Make some burgers.
Penis?
Yeah.
Jason, can you check the private chat?
Yes.
With Drace. Yeah. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 7. So.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Shooting in the head. Goodbye, cruel world. Bye.